Welcome to Codercise and my Deno Deploy video. Today we're looking at Deno Deploy and even get a calculator running on it. I go through Deno Deploy's features, why you might want to use it, and we also look at the new Deno Company announcement and what that might mean. This video was live streamed on Twitch, so head over to twitch.tv/Codercise to get the live version. Make sure you follow me there to get any updates whenever I go live. Let's get into it. Okay, so welcome to another Codercise video. Today, like the title says, we're going to be going through a bit of Deno and using the new Deno Deploy system. So, first of all, what is Deno Deploy? It works very similar to AWS Lambda, which you might have used in the past, or Azure Functions and Cloudflare Workers as well, where you've got a single piece of code, so it could be a file, and that gets uploaded into sort of the system from AWS Lambda or Deploy, wherever it is, and then you can have just that file exposed. And you have a route for that, which could just be a big old random string, or you could set it up through your own domain. When you hit that URL, you're going to run that file, and it will do some small task for you. You're probably not putting your entire application into Deno Deploy or another serverless function, but it's a way that you can get something working quickly and reliably. You're not going to need to worry about setting up a server for a single file, and that's pretty powerful there. I guess, yeah, most importantly, you don't need a server to run your code. You can just have the one file running. So great for those smaller applications. And let's have a look at Deno itself. So I'm on the Deno Deploy website now, which, if you don't know about Deno, it is a new JavaScript runtime. The one you're most familiar with is probably Node.js, which lets you run JavaScript outside of the browser. You can build your entire application based on JavaScript, and you don't need to be in the browser. It can run as its own application, similar to the way you might run a PHP or C# web application. So Deno itself, there's a few benefits for using it. This isn't a Deno video, so that will come at a later point. It's built on Rust instead of C and C++, which is sort of a more modern tool set. And I guess the team that created Deno is more interested in fixing flaws that were previously found in Node. Not to say that Node is bad, and it's definitely not going away at all. If you don't have Deno installed when you're watching this video, head over to deno.land and have a look at these installation instructions. They're very easy. I think I went with the homebrew version. You've got sort of Windows or Mac there. And you can also have a go at just running this simple application here. Something really cool about Deno is that you can import from URLs rather than installing something like Node modules, where you've got a big old directory of all these packages. For now, we'll assume that you've kind of got some Deno knowledge. You've got JavaScript and Typescript knowledge as well. Today, we'll be working in Typescript, which, I mean, we're not going to be using types too much, but will at least give us sort of a good idea of what we're trying to do with the code. So Deno Deploy itself is another, I'll read out what they've said here. It's a distributed system that runs JavaScript, TypeScript, and WebAssembly at the edge worldwide. Service deeply integrates the V8 JavaScript runtime with high-performance asynchronous web server to provide optimal performance without unnecessary intermediate abstractions, which is a whole lot of words. So let's dive a little bit more into this page and what we can do with it. So one thing really nifty is you can develop locally, and even playing around with it, that was a big benefit. I know in the past, having to work with AWS Lambda, it didn't have a great way to work offline, which is really difficult. especially when you're trying to work on big production systems that affect critical things for your customers or your own products. Yes, I guess some words about the licensing, which I'll just cover in a minute. It's built for performance. I think every programming language and tool ever has said this. Deno is a modern tool set though, and I trust the team to be able to put together a good quality, fast application. So, what else have I got in my notes here? Yeah, I mean, the local development is incredible, and we're going to run into that very shortly. The cost for Deno as well. I wonder if I can find this somewhere under the documentation. So right now, Deno is free. We've got pricing and limits. So I'm on deno.com/deploy/docs/pricing and limits. There are some restrictions on Deno Deploy when it's in the beta, which is currently free. So you can have 100,000 requests per day, including 100 requests per minute. Max memory is 128 megabit. CPU time per request is 50 millisecond. And then there's a few other things here that you're not going to probably run into as much. And I guess if you're thinking about using this for your system, again, it is not production ready, and the Deno team themselves will even admit that. And here we can see there are no uptime guarantees, which should be enough to not use it for yourselves in production. If you do choose to use it, have a think about how many requests you're going to be receiving and how long your piece of software is going to be running. If you're going over these limits, you might look at something like an AWS Lambda or Azure Functions. What else? Let's have a look at the Deno Company, which is probably the biggest announcement to come out of them in the last little while. So this was announced March 29th, so a couple of days ago. And what it means is Deno has chosen to, I guess, create a company for themselves, and this is going to be a way for them to generate funds that can support Deno development. They raised $4.9 million in seed capital, which is a little bit further down on this post. And they've got the list of investors here as well. So I have no problem at all with Deno creating a business and creating a way for them to generate funds, to create products, and have that separate from, I guess, the open source free version of Deno and the runtime. So no problem at all here. I think it's unrealistic to expect open source and free software to be funded purely by people's free time. It's really important to be able to give people that are doing this development the capability to do it and make it a full-time job for them where they can put in the effort and they can do some great work. If you're relying on free development, you're either going to get people with a lot of free time, people that maybe aren't experts because the experts are off doing the higher paid things. And you can't expect people to be doing free work for the rest of their lives. I imagine this is also going to be much easier for them to be able to create products like Deno Deploy. We might even see some extra support or other features that they can offer. And it's a much more civilized way of doing it than I think corporate sponsorship that can be a bit opaque around like why the business is choosing to sponsor an open source project. This way, Deno can stand on its own 2 feet and will be, be great, I think. Be really good. So we've covered pricing, I guess why Deno Deploy exists. Again, no uptime guarantees. Please don't use it in production. And I think let's get into writing some code. So if you're here, we're going to pop open the CLI tab. Whoops, that's the wrong one. Documentation. So Deno Deploy works off these fetch events. So when someone hits the URL that being provided for your function, it's going to trigger this fetch event, and then you can just do whatever it is you want to do in here. And in the hello world example they've got here, so it's add event listener fetch. They get in the event, response equals, and then they're just returning a response, which is hello world. Here are the headers, so it's a plain text response, and then it responds with the response variable. Great thing about Deno is you can actually import this and run it yourself. This is the code. So yeah, that's good and easy. So to do this, to use Deno Deploy itself, hit that sign in button up in the top, which is going to take us over here. I'm already signed in, and I use my GitHub account to sign in. You might use something else. I think that's sort of your only option at the moment. And I'm sure as the tool gets better, they're going to add more options for that. You can see in here, I've already got one project that I was using before. And for this, we're going to be creating a new project. Generates a random name for you. You can keep generating them. I'm going to call this one Codercise Deno Calculator. I'm going to hit create. Great. We can deploy from GitHub if this was a public repository. We'll see continue on that for now. And I think we can just skip out, yeah. So first, let's just have a look around the Deno dashboard and what we can do. In here, we can head to domains. If I had a domain set up, I would be able to add it to this project. You can have environment variables. This is a way if you wanted to store something like your database password, you could do that and then pull it out using the deno.env API, which works the same as other Deno projects. I think this is a pretty key critical feature, and this is very familiar to you if you've used other serverless tools in the past. So we've also got Git integration. You can deploy either from a file, or you can integrate it with Git. So when you push to your main or master branch, then it will deploy the Deno project for you. Part of those restrictions on the Deno Deploy beta were also included how long it takes to deploy your function. So I guess keep that in mind if you are deploying out of Git. Really nice to have CI/CD set up immediately though. So we need to connect our Git repository into Deno. So I've come over to GitHub here. I'm just going to add another repository. This is going to be public, and I'm going to include the note or the link to that in this video. So create repository. Great. Okay. So now let's hop over to the terminal. We will grab this. Now we're going to go to development. Is it streaming? Codercise Deno Calculator. It's creating a new directory here. Okay, we've got nothing in it at the moment. Let's create a new Git repository. I'm going to set the remote origin. and then we will open VS Code into this folder. Okay. Great. And so let's create a new file here. We're going to call it calc.ts. I think I just need to add. Calculator.ts. This is going to be a Typescript file. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. Perfect. All right. So let's start playing around, I guess, with the initial. Let's look at this link. We're going to come back over to our Git integration tab. I'm going to paste that in. Yep, that didn't work. Needs the entry point. Okay. So calculator.ts, and we're just going to grab calculator.ts. That needs to be a slash. I'm not sure why that's not working. github.com/hailsub5/ the project name. Okay, maybe let's push the file first, and maybe it's worried about that. So let's we'll start by writing some code for Deno Deploy. So we're going to go add event listener. It's going to be on the fetch event, which we know from those that documentation before. It's going to take in an event parameter. Okay, so now we're going to be responding. So event respond with response. Okay, so now what we need to do is fill our response variable. And right now we could just do something, so it needs to be new response, and we can just say we've got const the answer 30 plus 12, which we all know is 42. I'm using backticks here, so I can put my variable in like this, and then we're just going to send back the headers as well. So it's going to be content type. Content type is text/plain. Okay. So we're going to have a little squiggly line here. This is because respond with isn't something that VS Code knows event has. There's probably a plugin that I'm missing somewhere. I wouldn't worry about that too much right now. Cool. So we have our first file, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to run that locally. So again, if we hop to the running scripts locally section, we can employ the deploy CTL tool, deploy cuttle, which it will basically allow us to run our scripts locally. This is a thin wrapper around Deno. Install it using this script. Hopefully you've already got Deno installed. If you haven't seen Deno be run before, you have to explicitly allow certain permissions, which you can see here. They've got allow read, allow write, allow env, allow net, allow run, no check, and F. So you'll often see with Deno scripts a lot of these flags because you explicitly allow which, which which permissions you're giving it. So next we're going to go deploy CDL run, and then wherever our script is. So here they've put in a remote path, and if we open this path up, you'll see it's just that file again, that hello world example. So what we're going to do is deploy, do this so it's easy to read. We're going to deploy CTL run calculated.ts. I'm not, what's you might notice is that I'm not compiling or transpiling, whatever you want to call it, my TypeScript. It's just going to work straight out of the box. And it is now serving my file on localhost 8080. So that we can pop out over here, to this URL. And you can see, having done nothing at all other than writing a little bit of code, this tiny bit of code, we can now see that the answer is 42. This is live, this is watching it as well. So if I do, if I change this and go, the answer is, oops, I'm not watching. Is it watch or is it a flag? It's a flag to run watch. So we're going to go Deno run -- watch calculator.ts. Again, that server's firing up and we refresh it. We can see the answer is 42. And we'll just add a little bit more text there. So we're going to add, or is it? And we've refreshed the page and we've already got the answer is 42, or is it? So you should be moderately impressed by that. Very cool to see. We've spun up this little file. It's not doing much, but it's spun up. We hadn't had to set up a server. We haven't got any modules coming in. We're not doing anything crazy, and it's just worked immediately, which is fantastic. I love that when that happens. So we're going to commit our little file here. So I'm just going to do a git status. We can see my calculator.ts file is there. We're going to go git add calculator.ts. And we can see that there's nothing to go. I'm going to do git commit add calculator.ts file and hello world example. Great. I think we need to change this to be the main branch, which the GitHub documents definitely would have told me. So we're just going to run git branch -M main, M main. Now you can see we're on the main branch rather than the master branch. We've already got our origin in there, but I'm just going to double check. Great, already exists. And now we can just push. Great. I'm going to wait a second for that to happen. I refresh this page. Great, so now we've got our calculator.ts file. And here it is. If I open the raw content here, you can see this looks very familiar to the other example provided by Deno. When we come into our new project, now I've put in just a link. I wonder if I can do this. I've only done it with the raw link, but I wonder if I can do it with just a straight GitHub link. Yeah, great. So what I've done here, I've got the path to my calculator.ts file. I'm just going to hit link on that. I need to install this, so I'm just going to go to full camera so you guys don't see all my GitHub internals. This one. And my vault is locked, so I need to go to that place. Great. You do need to choose which projects Deno has. So you can install it either for all repositories, which is one option. I chose to install it for explicit repositories themselves. So here I'm just going to choose Codercise Deno Calculator. And I'm going to go save. Great. Okay, now we're back. So here now we can see my project has been linked, or my file at least has been linked. And if we go back to the project, it is created not too long ago. We've done a production deployment now. And if I pop open this URL, you can see so it's Codercise Deno Calculator random string .deno.dev. And we're running that code that was local only a minute ago. The answer is 42, or is it? That is now running out in the wild. And you can go hit this URL and you'll be able to see this code running. I'm going to post that link just in the chat. So everyone who wants to go look at it is able to do that. I think that's amazing. If you're unfamiliar with sort of sysadmin and server administration, this can be a great way to just get something up and running and just doing a little bit of functions, doing a little bit of exposing some sort of route online. You could call this via like an AJAX request if you wanted, whatever it is. You can talk to databases through it. There's a whole list of things you can do. And you're going to be able to do that without needing much at all. This has been, we're 27 minutes in, and I think that took us about 10 minutes to get that running. All right, so let's make it a little bit more advanced, I think. So I just need to check something else as well. So what I'm doing now, I know you've got full screen view at the moment, but I'm just opening up Postman because we're going to be using that shortly. And I just want to make sure I don't have any anything in there that shouldn't be there. Okay. Cool. So what I've opened up here and what you can see here is a tool called Postman. If you're unfamiliar with it, I recommend just having a quick read on it. It is a free tool you can download. It's going to let you send requests to a URL, whether that's on a local host or somewhere else. And we can put in our code or our URL here. Put that into Postman. We go here and go send. We can see the response back from the server. We can also see the headers. So we've got content type of text plain. We can also send that request to our local. 0, 0, 0. There we go. If we send this request, what have we done? Is it running? No. I'll turn the server off. There we go. Great. So now I'm running it against localhost as well, so I can test all of my code here and make sure it's working. And if we add, I think we can even add another header in here if we wanted. Like X Codercise 1, 2, 3, 4. Save that. Run this again. You can see we've got a new header here. X Codercise 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is still, whoops, it's the wrong one. This is still running as we would expect it to. And so yeah, this is a good starting point so far. But let's I guess let's take it up a notch. I'll show you a little bit how to deal with error content as well. So this, what we have now is okay, but you're probably going to need something a little bit more complex when you're using this in the real world. So we'll create a new function. This function is going to be called welcome message. And what it's going to do is it's going to return a new response. And it's going to say, hello, welcome to the Codercise calculator. Oops. Again, we're going to include our headers, and I'm just going to copy this down here. Let's copy that whole header block. Cool. Great. Next, we will get rid of this. We can say respond with welcome. Oops. Respond with welcome message. Welcome message doesn't take any parameters, and right now we're just returning this, which is very simple. Save. Come back to our browser. We've got hello, welcome to the Codercise calculator. Next, we can have maybe an error response. And so we can say function error response. Again, we're not going to accept any parameters. Oops. So return new response. We are unable to handle this request. Please try again later. We'll add in our headers again. And we'll also send through a status. And this status is going to be 405. So I guess something, the request can't be handled. Probably the method is not allowed. Right. And this is like a nice simple error you can return when you've got a serverless function. If someone does find the URL for it, you can't handle it, that's okay. I don't know what to do with this. Sorry, come back later. You really want to be careful if you're just accepting requests, especially on methods that you might not allow. So what that might look like in our add event listener, I think we can add an extra function again. So it's going to be called handle request. It's going to accept request as a parameter, and please forgive me, I'm just going to add the any type for it. If request method then we should return message. In any other case, we will return error response. Okay. We'll come back down to our respond with. We're just going to wrap this, and we're going to say handle request, and we're going to send the event request. So we're getting the request the value of the request out of the event, sending it into our handle request function. And then if that method is get, we'll show them the welcome message. In any other case, we're going to respond with an error. What this looks like in the browser, we can just keep refreshing this. This is always going to be a get request. When we come over to Postman though, so we send our get request, and the response body is hello, welcome to Codercise Calculator. If I change this to be post, for example, and I send that, it says we are unable to handle this request. Please try again later. And you can see here the status code is 405 method not allowed. And for example, using get on a form which requires data to be presented by a post, or using put on a read-only resource. And I can change any of these different methods, and none of it's going to matter. That's probably going to work. So get, post, put, patch, delete. Those are the main ones people are going to be sending to you. And we're going to handle get and then bin everything else. Let's commit this again. So I'm just going to take down that server, status, commit. We're going to commit and just say handle get requests and nothing else. And I'm going to push origin main. So now this has gone back up. We look at our calculated TS file again. You can see it's much larger now. Our code hasn't changed on this URL though. And the reason for that, we haven't set up our integration yet. And so what we need to do is deploy our code again. So I'm going to grab our GitHub. Here it is. If we refresh the page, you can see all of that code we just wrote. Back over here, we're going to paste that in. We've got deploy to production ticked. Oops. Why didn't that work? Let's put the token. And how do I put something in here? Maybe it needs to be the raw. Link. Yeah, cool. So again, I've used the raw URL in the past. I'm not sure if that's what it's meant to be, but that's what it is. Cool. So this is being deployed out into the world. And you can see here we've got hello, welcome to Codercise Calculator. Just going to post this link into the chat as well. And we can use our postman as well. So pasting, I've got my X Codercise header, which is the value of 1234. I've got the body is hello, welcome to Codercise Calculator. If we send through other methods, we're going to get we are unable to handle this request. Please try again later. So really, really cool, really easy again. So let's continue on. Let's add, I guess, the third and final step here. What we're going to be making is this calculator. We're going to pass in 2 parameters and then a method, and we'll get back the answer of that method. It's probably worth having a little quick break to look at the Deno docs as well. I've already had to play around with this, so I kind of know what I'm looking for here. But if you're, for example, looking for post requests, some examples, you can see here we've got request.method doesn't need post, that is not allowed. We've got a whole bunch of examples in this code. You've even got curl examples showing you how to run it. which is pretty nifty. It's got examples here on showing you how to return JSON or HTML. You can do things like get IP addresses. That might be really useful if you were working on, for example, a private serverless function where you've got some backend system that talks out to the internet. You might only want to receive requests from a specific IP address, a static IP address. So this could be one there. One thing I didn't mention before is serving static assets. Deno is currently unable to do that. It does have a little bit of instructions on how you can do that, but it might be better to use something like an S3 bucket or Azure Blob Storage to try and to host those static assets for you if you were returning a lot of HTML. Cool. So let's go to the next step. So what we're going to do is refactor a little bit of this. I also just noticed that during that little detour, they've got handle request as an async function. Not sure it matters, at least not what I've sort of seen for Deno so far, not what Deno deployed so far, but it might be worth, I guess figuring out, what it could, what it looks like. So let's handle some post data now. So if request dot method equals post, we can return, maybe we'll just return the response here. I'm just going to grab that response code, and I'm going to send the response to be, you sent me a post. If I come over to back to Postman, if I run my GET request, my server is down. Again, how many times will we have that today? I send this request again. You'll see we've got the GET request. Hello, welcome to Codercise calculator. We send a post request. We get another response, which is you sent me a post. If we send a put request, we are unable to handle this request. Please try again later. So let's play around with the post method now. So we can receive data from the post method, and this is why we've had to make this an async function. So we'll create a new function called calculate, which is going to accept parameter 1, which will be number, parameter 2, going to be a number, and then operation, which is going to be a string. This function is going to return either a number or a string. And so we'll return, error. If everything else fails, it's going to be returning error. Here, we're going to replace that little function we just had, and we're going to say return calculate. This can't run right now because it's expecting 3 arguments and we haven't put anything in there yet. So we're going to need to get that request body out. And this is why, we're choosing to run this as an async function. So we're going to get our request data. It's going to be await request.json. We're expecting this to be a JSON request coming from our user. So we're going to destructure the object. We're going to get parameter 1, parameter 2. Here. Open that up to request data. And then we'll just create another variable at the moment, which could be returned value, which is calculate, parameter 1, parameter 2, and operation. we're going to set our status code equals 200, which is okay, everything worked well. And then if the type of our return value is equal to a string, then we're going to set status code equals 405 again. Lastly, we're going to return a new response, which will be returned value. We'll grab these same headers from before, but the status code is going to be set to the status code variable. There's a space. So what we have here is, if our method is a post, we're going to get the JSON data out of that request. We're going to pull these values out of the request data. We don't care if anything else is in there. We don't care about it. Our return value is going to be calling this calculate function up here. We send in the 3 parameters. So this could be parameter 1 might be 1, parameter 2 might be 4, and the operation might be add. So it would be 1 plus 4, 1 add 4 equals 5, and that'll be return value. Our status code, we assume that everything went okay. If the return value is a string, so we're returning either a number or a string, we'll set that to be 405. And now that I'm looking at this, this might actually be worth swapping these two around. The response, then we've got just the value, which should either be a number or a string. Then we've got our headers, so it'll be plain text response, the X Codercise header, and whatever our status code is. And so I'm going to change this around. So the status code, the default is going to be the can't do anything for you response, which is generally safer when you're accepting requests from the internet. Even if we do get I guess a bad actor approaching us, then we're still going to be fine because we're not really doing anything here. And if we've got a 200 response code with a word saying error on it, I guess that's not very useful for them anyway. So we're going to save. I'm going to come back to localhost, get request works. Yeah. So here I've sent across the post request, and I had nothing in it. I had no JSON input. So there's nothing in there, and Deno has thrown an error. So this is why local development is so important. If we deployed that, we're not going to get good error logs. We're not going to be able to really see kind of what's going on. And this, let's just get to that next step. So in Postman, we're going into our body. It's going to be raw, choosing JSON. We're going to add our parameters here. So we have parameter 1, 2. Parameter 2 is going to be 13. And then operation is going to be add. Now if I send that request now, oops, I'm still getting an error. What is causing that? Unexpected end of JSON input. Just going on. Parameter 1, parameter 2. I think I stuffed up my, here we go. It just took a minute to run. So what we've done here, we've passed in our, what happened then was I had saved the code, but it hadn't finished running itself yet. And so it just wasn't responding when I tried to talk to it. So we have parameter 1, parameter 2, and operation. Right now, all we're responding with is error. And that should map exactly to what we're doing here. Next, we're going to build out our calculate function a little bit more. So if the operation equals add, we're going to return parameter 1 plus parameter 2. If the operation equals subtract, we're going to return parameter 1 minus parameter 2. If operation equals multiply, again, return parameter 1 times parameter 2. And then lastly, if operation equals divide, we will return parameter 1 divide parameter 2. You'll probably notice that this doesn't do anything about division by 0. That's fine. JavaScript itself will just return infinity. I'll show you that in a minute. So here, we're going to send through our data again. So here we're sending parameter 1, parameter 2 with the operation add. So we're going to do 2 add 13. When we come in here, our parameter is add. So it's parameter 1 plus parameter 2. If we put in something else, so we did like square, and we send that, we're just going to get an error back. Perfect. Exactly what we want. We can also do subtract, which will give us minus 11. So that's parameter 1 minus parameter 2. So 2 minus 13, which is negative 11. We have multiply, which will give us 26. And we have divide, which gives us this number here. If we do set 2 divided by 0, so that's by 0, we just get infinity back, which I think is fine. And if they can't do, I don't know why they'd be using this calculator. We can also see that along the whole way, we've got these 200 OK responses until we try something else. I'm going to get that 405 method not allowed. And if we change it back to a get, then we get our welcome to the Codercise calculator, and then a put, of course. Unable to handle this request, please try again later. So here you've had a good little intro to developing locally with Deno Deploy. Let's commit this and get it back running online. So git status, add calculation, git commit -am, add calculation functionality. And we're going to push that to the main branch. It's gone back up, and if we look into our calculator TS function, we can see here we've got our new code. Great. We will grab this raw file again, pop back over. We're going to run another deployment. It's downloading the file again, and it's back up. So the guys in the chat, if you want to have a look at that URL that's posted there, you can start playing around with it. I'm going to grab just this request body. If we come back over here, body raw JSON. Grab it, paste it. So here we get our error. This is live now. This is live out in the world. It's got HTTPS on it. Do an add function. You can add that. We'll get 102 back. We can do our division. Again, we can do all sorts of things here. So this is out in the world now, and yeah, you'll be able to use it right now. One thing to note, just the TypeScript thing, these parameters are the type lowercase n for number, and that's a primitive number. If you do an uppercase here, you will get some errors. There are certainly ways that you could build out this project a bit more. You could have a full welcome message, maybe some sort of a page. We've got the error response. Maybe you could do a little bit more there. And then the calculate function, that's probably the big meaty bit. Maybe you could use a switch statement. Maybe you could think of just passing in the calculations as a single parameter. There's a whole bunch of ways that you could extend this out and make it your own. And if you do that, I would love to see it. I would love to see the different ways that everyone can build out this project and take it further. So that's all for today. I hope you've enjoyed having a look around Deno Deploy. Really nifty tool. Cool to start playing around with it, start getting a bit of experience with it and seeing the platform grow. Deno also has a really active Discord. So if you are interested in Deno development itself, maybe you're in Deno Deploy and you want to get a bit more information about it and the plans there, join that Discord. I'll chuck a link into the comment, the description for this video. And other than that, have a good, lovely weekend. Like, subscribe, comment, all of those good things, and I will see you next time. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this video on Deno Deploy and building a calculator. I'd love to see how you can improve it and take the app even further, so share your GitHub links below. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to get updates on any new videos coming out. And what do you want to see next? Let me know in the comments below, and I'm going to see you next.